like to welcome Robin Jordan. She's with us today. And so, Robin, I want to welcome you with us. And why don't you tell us where are you located? Where's home for you, Robin?
Home for me is Central Ohio, a little town called Mount Gilead, just north of Columbus, just south of Cleveland,
Okay, okay. Mid Ohio.
mid
And,
Ohio.
is that where you're from? Have you been there for many years or?
My husband and I moved here about 22 years ago, so most of my life, yeah. He's
Okay.
originally from the area, and we wanted to get out of the city and ended up in the country. We have about 11 acres and makes it
Okay.
nice.
So preference, city or country?
Country,
Yeah,
hands down.
most people that have been in the country for a while like that. People that have
Oh.
had nothing but city, they can't imagine it, but yeah.
I was city girl before this, and I wasn't really sure when I moved out here. I went to a football game with my husband, and where I lived, it was a social gathering. Everybody wore sweaters, and you went to socialize. The first football game I went with my husband, everybody was in head to toe Carhartts, and I was like, "Where am I? This is not what I'm used to."
Yeah, it's like two totally different worlds, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
So, Robin, how long have you been doing long arm quilting?
I think I'm on my 12th year right now.
Okay,
I
12 years.
Yep, I started when my son was getting ready to go into kindergarten. And
Okay, okay.
it was either go back to work or find a job. And I had an idea, and my husband, he entertained my idea with a little persuading. So it was good.
Okay, so you had one of the husbands that you might have had to give a little bit of pushing or
Yeah, my husband, he is a CFO, and so he is very much about the money. He worries about that stuff. He wasn't really sure about long arm quilting. Could this even make money? Were we gonna buy an anchor and it just sit and not get used? That's what he was afraid of. So he made me he made me do a business plan. It was 54 pages. I hated every minute of it, but and don't tell him I said this. It was the best thing I ever did. I hate it when he's right, but he was right. I learned I learned a lot about my business and my customers and who I would be serving. I had originally thought the business might start in my basement, but looking at my customer age, I'm like, they can't do stairs, A lot of those customers are older. And I didn't want to create a situation where I couldn't get people, to the space and stuff like that. So it made me think a little differently, which is never bad.
Well, I think that's the first time your husband made you do a 50 some odd page business plan before you started.
Yes.
So how long have you two guys been married?
We celebrated 24 years this year.
Yeah, I figured it had been a while. I can just tell by the dynamic. He's not even in the picture, and I can tell that you guys
He
have been together a while.
We are polar opposites. I'm a little more hey, let's do fun things and, just go and do them, and he's more okay, let's stop and plan, figure out what we're going to do and go from there.
Well, yeah, and in my experience, opposites the old saying opposites attract, but they complement one another as life goes on, because
Oh,
yeah,
absolutely.
I can relate. Me and my wife are just the same as you guys. I bet you guys are ribbing on each other and ragging each other all the time, aren't you?
All the time. All the time. That's the kind of relationship we have.
I could tell. I could tell that, and I have not talked with you any about your relationship with your husband, but I could just tell by the little bit that you said that you poke the bear, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I'm the adventure, his adventure, whether he likes it or not. Uh he had to speak one time at a conference in Reno, Nevada, and I talked him into taking our two boys in a pop-up camper cross country and visiting all the national parks, and then we were gone like a month. It was the best vacation ever. And he was like at first, no, no way. And to this day, he'll say it was a lot of fun.
Spontaneity, yeah. Well, that's good.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get back on track here. You got me off track already.
Sorry.
Um, so when you first got your first, let me ask you first off, did you start out with a Statler or another brand?
I started off with a Statler. There used to be a quilt shop in Columbus called the Glass Thimble where you could go and rent a Gammill. You took their class, then you could rent it. And after I took the class, the instructor goes, "Wow, you're kind of good at this." And it wasn't a Statler; it was just the basic hand guided. Um, and
Mhm.
I think I rented that Gammill 2 times, and I told my husband I'm gonna buy one of these things.
Wow.
So coming out of IT at a bank, I told him I knew there was a learning curve with doing some hand guided stuff. I said, if I get the Statler, I think my learning curve and ability to help customers and be able to do work for customers would be a little shorter because uh, it's programmed. The machine is driving it essentially.
Hmm.
And so that's where my thinking was. And I also knew in the area there wasn't anybody that had anything that was computerized. So it's kind of giving a little bit of an advantage in the market that way.
Gotcha.
Consistency.
There's one of those freezers. Okay. You froze up for just a second there. We both have weather that's going through our areas, but let me ask you this, Robin. You got your first machine specifically for doing a business, or was there any
Yes.
other, or was that was strictly what it was for?
Strictly what it was for was to start a business, see if I could be able to take care of my kids, help with homework, do all the things that, if I needed to run and pick somebody up from soccer practice, I could. If I needed to pick somebody up from school because they were sick, I could. It gave me a lot of that flexibility. And I liked that. I could do customers by appointment, give them my attention and make sure, everything in the house was still good and the business is good. It all worked really well together.
Okay. And the fact that you were getting it specifically for a business, probably that had a lot to do with why your husband had you do that 50 some odd business plan
Yes, it
before you
was.
started.
They're
Yes.
they're a chunk of change. They're an investment, but they are workhorses. I did my research on different machines, and it helped that I learned on a Gammill, but the machines, they are tanks. They are very well designed. They are great. I just love them.
Right. And so your decision to go with the Gamma at first was just because of basically your own experience with working with one, right?
Yeah, that was definitely a key factor, I would say. I did look at other machines,
Hmm.
but having already learned and taken classes on them helped, I think, sway my decision. And the fact that they are designed to be a 30-year industrial machine. Because being a business, and at the time, I think I was late 30s when I started, I knew I wanted to be able to have a machine that would go the distance with me.
Gotcha. And so when you first started, uh how did you come up with the money to buy your first machine? Did you have savings or how?
I used a little bit of savings and
Sure, there was
my
some discussion with the husband on this part also.
oh yeah, that definitely was part of it. I had some savings and my parents were very big supporters. They lent me the money to get started and they, they believed in me and away I went. My dad actually I found a machine in Canton, Mississippi, my first one.
I know where that is. I'm
And
from that state.
we did a road trip with a trailer and went and picked it up. So
Okay, okay. And do you still have that one today, or
I do. It is my smallest machine. It is a Vision. I think it's a 22-inch
22?
head.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
Okay.
a great machine to get started with. It wasn't too big. It's only a 12-foot frame, so it would fit in my dining room. Since that's where I started, and
Okay.
it was the perfect size, perfect everything for me.
Okay. And the Vision, is it still a Vision? Have you upgraded that one or?
It is still a Vision.
Okay. And yeah, so I'm gather that you got some other machines on down the road. Tell us about that.
I did. So I would I would be working on the Vision, and anytime you get a custom project, you're not turning them around the way you are anything that's edge to edge or pantographs. And
A
one
little
day
more
my husband
time.
came,
Yeah.
yeah, their time, they take time. And so my husband said one day, I could see why you might want a second machine, buddy. That was like opening the door.
He
I
said
was on,
he said that?
he said that. So,
Okay.
and
I see he turned a corner there at some point.
he did turn a corner. He saw that there are quilters out there that need long armors. And so I bet it wasn't 2 weeks later, we were on our way to Virginia to pick up machine number 2. So,
Okay, okay. Machine
and
number two. And was there another one after that?
there was one more after that. So then my first machine, I had planned to get rid of it, the Vision, because it only has that 22-inch throat. And as the business started to grow, the 30-inch heads, it's a big change. You don't think that that's a big difference, but it is. So I found the third machine up in Michigan, and we did yet again another road trip, went up there, picked it up, and the intent was to sell the Vision. But about that time, I decided I was going to do a project for Quilt of Valor. I'm part of a program called the Buckeye Boy State that's run by veterans. It teaches leadership to high school seniors, and all of these veterans were there, and none of them had ever heard of Quilt of Valor. So I told my husband the next year we went back to work at Buckeye Boy State, I was going to take a quilt for every single one of those servicemen, which ended up there's over 100 there that run that program. So that Vision for that one year ran nothing but Quilts of Valor. I talked to my guild friends and I said, here's what I need. Can you help me out and make this project happen? And they came through in spades. I actually started to get quilts from people I didn't even know that weren't in guilds, and it was a lot of fun. So after that year was done, it was already in the shop, and we had started to, increase business, and the need for it to stay was there. So that's how we ended up with 3 machines.
Okay, okay. Um, and I do want to tell the people who are watching live right now, I forgot to mention this at the beginning. If you have a question for Robin or a comment or anything, feel free. You can look at the bottom of your screen and you'll see where you can do that. So feel free to ask a question if you're watching this live. So Robin, back to when you first started there, when you were beginning, um, did you know that there was enough business available in your area? Maybe
I
that 150-page report might have
Yeah,
helped.
I did do research and looked for other long armors in the area. I only knew of 2 or 3. I think 3 was the max. None were computerized, so I felt like I maybe had like a different thing to offer the area. And I've always worked in customer service, and one of the things that I believe I love talking to the customer and helping the customer. And I want to make all of my customers feel important. I want them to all I want to give them what they see in their quilt. Everybody's at a different stage of their quilting, and I felt that I could help all quilters, whatever you bring me, whatever stage of quilting you're in. I'm not the quilting police, and I don't ever want to poo-poo anybody's idea or creative vision. So I try to really listen to what people say and what people bring me, and I'm not over picky. I try not to turn anybody away. I think I've
Okay.
only ever turned one quilt away.
Oh, yeah?
It
What was the story with that one?
it, the I loaded it on the machine, and the first border was probably like an 8-inch border. And as I started to base it down, we call those sexy quilts where they have a little bit of a curve to it. But this quilt had a big curve to it. The next row of quilting below that border was 6 inches bigger. And I was like, I kept looking at it, and I'm like, I can't quilt this. And it was spectacular applique. And I told the customer, I said, this quilt is totally worth saving and taking apart and doing it. I think you should take it home and square up these blocks, put it back together. She's like, I got this at a garage sale. I'm not doing that. She goes, you want to buy it? And I said, sure, I'll buy it. So during COVID, I bought that quilt for $50. I took it apart, put it back together, and I've got to finish quilting it. It's about halfway done.
Wow. That's an interesting story.
Yeah, I don't know how I ended up with it, but she wasn't willing to put the work into it. But if you don't know what to do and how to go about deconstructing a quilt and putting it back together, it totally can be overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah. We can look insurmountable to a person who doesn't
Oh,
know what they're doing.
absolutely.
So at the beginning, so did you start out with like having some customers already in the kitty or
I had, I
tell
had
us about
zero
that?
customers.
You had zero,
Zero
a big
customers.
zero. So
I
how'd you get them? What'd you do?
I did lots of things. One of the ones that kind of sticks out most to me is I would go to like dry cleaners, Panera, and put up business cards everywhere. I started on social media. I went to the library and I opened every quilting book and put my business cards in it. And that way, if a quilter went to the library and picked it out, they'd have my
Is that
contact
legal? Can you
information.
can you do that? Have you looked at the laws about that?
It's
I don't
gray
know.
area.
Yeah, yeah, I can see.
I don't know that anything's wrong with it. I've never heard, but I don't even know if anybody checked those books out. But I was hungry at the beginning, so I was willing to try anything to get my name out there. The biggest thing that got my name out was joining a quilt guild. And like I said, when I started, I was 38. So I brought that median age way down. And I didn't know what to expect at a quilt guild. Will they be nice to me? Or do they already have friend groups?
Yeah,
And
what was your experience there? Did they
um
look down their nose up at you at first,
no,
or
they did not. I think I was way more scared than anything. They are, in my experience, quilters are the best people. They are very friendly, they are very loving, and just genuine, wonderful people. I just everybody I meet. I mean, my customers are my friends too. They're wonderful. I go to Quilt Guild. I don't miss very often because it's what I love.
so when you got involved with the Quilt Guild, I have questions from people a lot of times about they they worry if people are going to see them as a like a business threat or anything. Did you have any sense of anything like that? Competition?
I think anytime you join a guild and you are doing a business, it is a tight there is a little bit of a tight line you have to watch. If there are established quilters in there, I mean, you have to know you're not going to just sweep in and take all the business, or, you know, quilters are very loyal to their long armors unless, something happens that maybe they don't like your prices or something didn't go quite the way they liked. They're very loyal. So, but I recently joined a new one, and there was a quilter in there. And the reason I joined the guild is they actually sew during their guild meetings, which I had never heard of. And I'm like, anytime I get to work on a project, that sounded super fun to me. So when I started that guild, they had an established long armor in there, and it was a little awkward, but I'm not pushy at all about my stuff. I am, I show my work, and if you like what I have to offer or what I'm doing, I'll wait. I'm patient. So, but usually people will try different things, or if they're looking for
Another
someone,
job with, I'm sorry, go ahead.
they'll seek you out if they're looking for a long armor, and you let it be known that you are one and you are available to take new customers. Absolutely.
Okay. When you first started, were you working another job or, what
I
about?
was. I was a librarian at our local library.
That's how you knew about the books. Okay, I got
That
you.
That's the reason for the books.
You knew you could get
Exactly.
away with it. Okay,
Yeah.
I see.
I love people, and I love working with people, and that library was very creative, or they let me be creative. I did a lot of making displays and things like that for the children, summer reading programs, and creative people, we need that outlet. So
Right. And how long did you, were you doing both the jobs at one time for a
I
period?
I did until I got going. It took me about 2 years. Um, before I really got to the point where, okay, I need to stop and focus on this. I've got enough business coming in now that that needs to be my main focus. I
Okay,
miss the library some days.
gotcha, gotcha. So, oh, let me ask you, is, your shop right now, is it, you don't have three machines in your home, do you?
No, they're all in my. So about 8 years ago, we built a barn uh, with a space for my quilt shop. Um, when we were kind of designing and drawing it out, how big do you want it? I have no idea. I'm in a dining room now. Anything bigger than this, and at that time I never dreamed there would be two, let alone three machines. Um, but the space is enough for three. I don't think we could do one more. No. Um, but it's right across my driveway, so it makes it very convenient for my commute is pretty short. You know, if a customer needs to come after hours or early in the morning, I'm able to bounce out even on weekends. I try not to sew on weekends, um, so I can have that time with my family. But if somebody needs to drop off one of those days, it's easy. It doesn't usually take much of my time. It's right here.
Do you have like a big sign out front or?
I have a sign at the end of my driveway, and I have a sign just outside of my door, but nothing really big that's on the road or anything. Most people find me word of mouth, I would say. Um, Social media, I have a decent following on social media. I did a post on something, and it was one of those that kind of blew up. I could sit at lunch and watch my social media like explode kind of thing. It was a little crazy.
Gotcha, gotcha. I
But
I have
go ahead.
a question from one person here, Robin. Oh, Jennifer is asking, I'm just starting my business. I was wondering how to find a good supplier for wholesale batting thread, other supplies to keep my overhead costs down. Do you have any advice?
Um, I would look for distributors in different areas. I'm not sure where you're located. For me, I will say I'm in Ohio, and we have checker distributors here. Um, so I make a run to Toledo about once a month. And because shipping those rolls of batting can get expensive. And that's how I keep my costs down. I'm able to go straight to the distributor once a month. We come home with like 5 rolls of batting and whatever we need. And so that definitely helps me. So I guess
Okay.
it kind of depends on where you're located.
Then you kind of found a distributor that's in a big city close to you. How far away is Toledo?
It's about an hour and a half, hour 40. So I
Okay.
mean, it ends up being a whole day for me. We're down for a whole day, but you figure a roll of batting to ship, I think is like $50 or something like that.
Gotcha.
And
Gotcha.
so it makes it worth it to be down one day a month. My niece also lit or goes to college at Bowling Green, so sometimes I bribe her with gas money, and she'll stuff her car and bring it home for me.
There you go. There you go. Okay. So Robin, how many hours a week would you say you put into your business these days?
Um, I work on average about 35 hours a week.
Okay.
Uh, we run all 3 machines most every day. Um, we
Are
average.
you the only one that runs them, or you have people working with you, or?
No, I have a friend that comes in and works with me. She's awesome, Susan. Um, I definitely don't think I could run 3 machines as
That'd be a handful.
efficiently without her. She's great.
Okay. And so you do some custom and some edge to edge both? Is that
Yes.
right?
For the most part, the 2 bigger machines with the 30-inch heads, they run pantographs nonstop. And I use that smaller vision for all of our custom work because that way I can load something on there um and run them back to back. So I have 2 machines that I can turn back and forth between the two, make sure the edge to edge is running here, and then work on the custom as I'm going. And if it sits on that machine for maybe a week, I don't feel so bad about it.
Okay. And while I'm thinking about it, what is your feeling about the size of the machine, the optimum versus that 22-inch you have? What input
I
do you have about that?
I I think it depends on what you're doing it for. If you're getting a machine for home use and you're not going to be a not do it as a business, that smaller size is great. It would have been perfect for me. But for a business, I would highly recommend get the 30. You will not be disappointed. It opens up so many avenues with patterns and possibilities as what you can do, what you can't do. There's more can do's with those.
Okay, and yeah, and I thought you would have that type of answer because most of the people that I've talked to, they like if they have a classic, a 26-inch or something, they wish they had the biggest one. So yeah.
There is one size bigger than the 30, isn't there?
Well, in the old days, there used to be the Supreme, which is the 36, which is a humongous machine, but that's not in production anymore.
I wasn't sure. I don't know that you'd be able to reach it. I'm a pretty tall person, and the 30 is perfect for me. But my friend Susan, she's a little bit shorter than I am, and she struggles a little bit sometimes. She just loads it a little differently, I should say.
Gotcha. So as far as the edge to edge versus custom, what would you say your ratio of production is?
I would say 95% edge to edge and maybe 5% custom.
Okay. And do you charge by the hour, by the square inch? Tell us about that.
I charge by the square inch. We are our edge to edge starts at 2 cents a square inch, and depending on how dense you want your quilting, kind of goes up from there. Um, I'm very generous with my quilting, I would say. I I don't like to go to quilt shows where I see a quilter has paid for quilting and the quilters are expanding the stitch length. They aren't giving as, they get a little chintzy sometimes, I feel, with the quilting part. of it.
Okay.
Quilting is not, it's not cheap, and I feel that you should get your money's worth.
And your picture froze up just a minute while you were saying that. Tell us again how much you charge for you by the square inch for both
I
types.
charge 2 cents a square inch,
Okay.
and it goes up depending on how dense you want it.
Okay.
So more dense, more expensive.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. Um, all right. So do you know about how many quilts you're doing per year these days?
A lot. uh, you know, I honestly don't know. Hundreds. It,
100?
it's hard to say. Yeah. I would definitely say we're in the hundreds. Um,
Okay.
yes. That's a great question.
Yeah,
I,
you should have known that answer, but coming
I
on
I
the show.
I apologize. I should know that.
That's okay. I'm gonna let you slide because we got
Okay.
a few more questions, but you're skating on thin ice now as it is. So, um, so do you have any other services, binding, piecing, backings, t-shirt quilts, anything?
We do everything that is quilt related. T-shirt quilts, bindings, we sell batting, we sell backing, we sell minky batting, we repair or backing, I should say. We repair quilts. If it's quilt related, we do it. We do not hem pants or alterations that people try to get us to do all the time. If it's
And
quilt related, I'll do it.
people try to get you to hem pants, stuff
I
like
mean,
that.
I do it occasionally for friends and family, but you better expect if I'm hemming your pants, I'm probably sewing your pockets shut because I don't want return customers.
Nice, nice. Okay, so let's see. I had another question I was thinking about asking, and it's left my mind now. Um, let me ask you, as far as knowing how to run these machines, um, the Statler, do you think it's an easy thing to learn, or tell us about gaining knowledge about that? How are these
Well,
things operate?
I can tell you in my experience, I am all self-taught. So when I knew I was getting the machine, I just started doing research and I read the manual. I didn't know what the heck I was reading. There definitely is a learning curve. There's I think the hardest thing for me when I started with the Statler was learning the primary, secondary selection things. Like you can have something selected and then have you can technically have two things selected at once, whether it be the boundary or the quilting pattern. I didn't necessarily understand that fully, that okay, right click, left click, unselect the primary and the secondary. That was a little different because that was nothing like I had ever experienced. But once I the more I did it, I still learn things every day about it.
Yeah.
Different ways to do things. That's the nice thing too, I think, about the Gammill Statlers. You can do things more, probably three different ways, whether
Yes.
it be the keypad, the fast keys, the mouse, or directly on the sewing head. There's lots of different ways to go about it. So sometimes when I'm teaching someone how to do that, I try to tell them to get used to doing the keypad actually on the machine, because if you can get it in your mind how to do it, it will make your life easier rather than switching back to the mouse and things like that.
Mhm.
Takes a little while, but
Yeah, and I've heard that from a lot of different people. The same thing that you're saying. Even if there's something you don't know how to do, if you just kind of develop the basics, and as you go on learning, if there's something you don't know how to do, there's probably at least three different ways to do that. And there's several different workarounds to do most anything. Let me ask you, Rob, have you ever been to Quilting with Confidence?
I have not. Um, my lady Susan that works in the shop with me, she's getting ready to go this, I think June. So she's very excited about it. And I told her, I go, well, you should go. Maybe I should go.
Okay, okay.
So
Well, yeah, everybody looking to, yeah, I'm sorry, you froze up for just a second there, but I was saying that everyone that I've spoken to that's been to Quilting with Confidence has absolutely loved it. And I would encourage anybody that's watching this, if you know, if you don't feel secure in your knowledge of Creative Studio or even hand guided quilting in general, um, this will give you loads of confidence and also the just the experience. I hear that just as much as the learning, the experience of getting together with all these quilters. It's just one big family. And yeah, I'd encourage you, Robin, to go sometime. You would really love it. No matter how much experience you have or how long you've been in business. I have people that have been in business for years, and they will go like to several different Quilting with Confidence during the year. They're that addicted to it. But yeah,
now
just
you're
the
now
people that
you're
are
making me
watching.
want to go sign up and go.
Yeah, I promise you, you would not regret it. And I'm not just saying that because
Oh,
I'm trying to sell something, but Quilting with Confidence is has been a game changer for so many different people that I've talked to. And while I'm talking about Gammill stuff, you talked about your 552 page thing that your husband put
it's
you.
longer every.
But yeah, with the Accelerate program, the Gammill Accelerate, you can look that up on Gammill.com. The Accelerate Business Program, it will put you in touch with everything you need to start a business. Those of you who are watching that you're not sure what you need to start the business. There's a lot of those resources in there. And also, as far as your knowledge of quilting itself, check out the new owner training. You can find that on Gammill.com also. And that'll go through all the there's full length hours upon hours courses that you can purchase. It'll train you with the Creative Studio and all that. So I just wanted to put a plug in for those as a benefit for the people that are watching. Those are things that'll really help you along in your business. So let's get back to your path here, Robin. Um, what do you think has been one of or more than one of the hardest things about growing your business? What are some difficulties maybe that you
I I, I gotta stop buying machines so I can have these things paid off. I think that's the hardest part for me. The third machine was supposed to go, and I would have been good, but this year everything is going to be paid off. The
right?
that's
Excellent.
yay. Uh, but a lot of my business is also to support my habit. I'm a quilter. I like quilting things. I love everything quilting,
The
and so
first step is admitting you have a problem, so that's
that's
good.
right. I have a problem. Uh, my biggest hurdle, man. Um,
Let me ask you, you say here lately you're doing hundreds of quilts a year probably. Um, would you say that amount has that like increased like incrementally all the time, or have you had ups and downs?
ev every year I have done, I think I've doubled my business every year. So
Wow.
obviously when I started off, it was not big. I think I made like $6,000 my first year, and every year is doubled. And I'm to the point now where I don't even know where people are getting my information from. A friend of a friend of a friend, and when you get to a point where it starts to grow exponentially. I call them like they're they're people who tell somebody, and then this person tells somebody else. They're like connector people is what I say. If you get a good couple of really good connector people, it can grow your business huge. But I think it all comes down to how you treat people too.
And yeah, okay. Let me ask you, there's a couple of things all around now you live, did you say you live out in the country?
I live out in the country.
All right.
My
You're not real close to a super rural, super city area?
Nope, I am 45 minutes north of Columbus and about about a half an hour south of Mansfield. So, in order for me to even go to the grocery store, it's like 20 minutes to get to the grocery store. So, they're a little ways. I Most of my people are probably within an hour of me. So I do get some Columbus traffic. I get a lot of Mount Vernon, Mount Gilead, Marion, Mansfield. It just kind of just depends where they're here about me and if they have a long armor in their area.
Okay. So, you talk about this, the way you treat people. Tell us a little bit about that. When you meet people, or just tell us about that. How's your interaction with people go, and how's that related to you gaining customers and things?
Well, when I started the business and I had to come up with like a title for myself, I decided to call myself a creative guide. And so I kind of embrace that when a customer walks in the door, it's their quilt, and I feel it's my job to help guide them through that process. I let them be as hands-on or as hands-off as they want to. If they want to hand it to me and say, make it look pretty, I can do that. But they've put so much time into it. I let my customers pick thread colors, they pick patterns. We talk about the different choices in thread, the different weights, how they affect the overall look of their quilt, how the pattern they choose will complement or distract from what they have going on. So I try to make them think outside the box a little bit, but and I'm willing to do whatever they want to do, but I try to keep them in the guardrails so I know what's going to look nice. Okay. If you've got this quilt and it's got a lot of white on it and you're going to pick a super bright purple thread for it, that thread's going to stand out like a sore thumb. And I want to let them know, hey, we can totally do that, but this is what you need to consider. And so we have like a lot of options on the walls, as you can see in the background,
Nice.
and we talk about different things. So I feel like it's my job to guide them through, and I also give tips and feedback too. If they bring in a quilt that maybe has the backing is pieced together and it's a 1/4 inch seam, I might suggest to them, hey, next time you bring one in, try do a 1/2 inch seam, press it open. It gets a better result in quilting. And I always tell my customers, if we work together, we're going to get a great product. You're going to be happy, I'm going to be happy, and you're going to get the best possible quilt out of here that you can. So I try to give suggestions and helpful hints without being like, you did this wrong. You need to take this back and fix it. Because,
Uh,
like I said before, everybody's on a quilting journey. You don't start out being great. You know, first quilt I have, it is a dumpster fire. But I still have it to look back, and when people come in and they're not very confident, I pull it out and I show them. Like, this is where I started. It's not good.
so it sounds like you've really embraced that role of creative guide. Sounds a bit Gandhi-esque.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's good. Creative guide, you're telling them, so yeah, we can definitely do that, but you consider this. So that's great. And I think, and just talking to you tonight, I think the people that are listening and watching will be able to see that you have embraced that role that you're talking about, creative guide. And I think that is one of the things that a lot of the people watching and listening worry about is you know, how should they or can they interact with customers? And, you know, everybody has their own personality and their own style and everything. You have any more to add to that, or you just think own your
I
role?
I just think a lot of times you also need to listen to your customers. You know, I try to never schedule we are all by appointment only. I try to not schedule more than one customer at a time. When they're here, I try to devote my entire attention to them. You know, because sometimes just taking that extra 5 minutes to talk to them about their day or what's going on in their life, not only are you helping them out through your business, but you're building a relationship with them. Little things too. I'm not a nickel and dime kind of person. Um, my fees include thread. I don't charge extra for thread. I don't charge extra for bobbins. There are a couple of things like if you use variegated thread, that's one of the few things I charge extra for. We trim our quilts for free. A lot of the people that come in and get quilts done with us, they don't have the space at home to trim their quilts. So that's a really easy thing we can offer our customers. It doesn't really cost anything, and it maybe takes us 2 minutes to trim a quilt. So I I just think paying attention and actually, you know, you know, if you take the extra time to spend with a customer and talk to them and encourage them on that journey. I also tell customers if you are working on a quilt and you're stuck or you have a question, just call me. I will help you. I will try and guide you as best I can. You know, I'm not going to do it for you, but I'm willing to answer questions. And those kind of little things where you're going out of your way and you're doing little things, those are big for people.
I have another question that somebody put in. How did you know that it was time to hire a helper, and how did you advertise or find her?
I I I can say I didn't really Susan just kind of showed up one day.
She showed up uninvited, huh?
Yes, I mean, I invited her. She was retiring. She was a quilter. We have really good rapport together, and she was kind of looking for something to do too. You know, with retirement, she always says it's so she doesn't kill her husband. Um, and I'm here to protect him. But we something about us working together, we have a really fantastic working relationship. And you get to the point where she would come in like, oh, maybe once or twice a week. And I looked forward to those days because I could get more done. Or, you know, she learned how to wind bobbins one time. And it those little things add up, you know, being able to help pull a quilt off a machine or cut some batting, those kind of things. You don't realize how much time they take in a day, but they do add up.
Yeah.
Anymore, I struggle a little bit now with the phone calls, and that's where I'm struggling now is how do I manage my phone calls so I am getting the appointments going but still running the machines. So I'm open for suggestions.
Okay, I was about to ask, how do you have, so you're still in the process of working that one out, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I try to. I don't always answer calls during the day. If I can, I try to. But lunchtime I definitely sit down and I answer emails. And that's the other problem. Like social media is a good thing and a bad thing because not only do I get phone calls, I get text messages, I get emails, I get Facebook messages, Instagram messages. And so sometimes managing talking on all of those different platforms and remembering which customer and which platform I was talking to them on, I do struggle with it a little bit. I do the best I can, but you know, there's a lot. It can be a lot.
So, yeah, and you can think about whether you want to give your contact information at the end here. Because it sounds like you're almost out of control with people contacting you. But all right, we got to finish up.
Sorry, I'm a talker.
No, that's good.
Uh-oh.
Good. I love it. I just have to sit here and listen, so that's great. Who would you say?
It just froze up on me.
Oh, who is your biggest cheerleader or support system?
I would say my family, definitely. My parents and my husband reluctantly. Once once
He
he
had to come
saw
around that corner, didn't he?
he did. And it was nice to hear him say that I was right, that the business would be good and it would quilters would come.
Oh, did you, I was what? I was what?
Yeah, we do. And then he does that. I was what with the business plan? Yes.
Yeah, it sounds like that. It turned out to be a joint venture, because I bet, and I've been ragging the 1052 page report, but I suspect that was probably a valuable learning experience for you also starting out.
It was.
All right, one more question here. d- do you can you think of anything that maybe you wish somebody would have told you at the beginning that you don't know now, that I mean that you know now that you wish somebody would have told you at the beginning?
Hmm.
Put you on the spot if you can't
I
think of
I
anything.
would say go with your gut a lot. Um don't be afraid and go with your gut. I mean, plan ahead. It definitely planning is good, but there's always that little voice in you that kind of tells you what you should do and and a lot of times I listen to that voice and it's been pretty good to me. I really feel like, you know, you just have to have some confidence in yourself too. You know, I did, but I think I wish I would have had maybe a little bit more to try some different things out of the gate. I was nervous, you know, you're scared. You don't know. You just don't know what you don't know.
Go with your gut. Don't let the fear overtake you.
Yes.
Okay. Um, so you live out in the country. We're in the year 2024. And you're being very successful. Do you think that other people can take up a quilting business and be successful in this day and age? Quick thoughts about that.
Absolutely. I think my big thing, I'll come back to it. It's how you treat your customers. You want to be successful, you know, be reasonable, be honest, you know. Don't try to hide things. If things, you know, these are machines and sometimes we have accidents and we have to make calls we don't want to, but if you are honest with people and upfront, they will be honest with you. And like I said, quilters are great people.
Awesome. And I think what you just said is probably a good lesson for life in general. Just
I
be upfront and honest.
Yep.
All right, Robin, we're about to wrap up. Would you like to share any where anybody might be able to get in touch with you or see your stuff?
Sure. I will say my website is not great right now. We're in the process of redesigning, but my Facebook page, my business name is Thread White and Blue. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, uh, thread WB at gmail.com if you want to email me. That's a good way to get a hold of me. We're
Say
always
that
taking
email again.
thread WB at gmail.com
Okay.
and thread white and blue on Facebook. Those are probably the two best ways to get a hold of me.
Okay. Excellent. Well, Robin, thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure listening to everything you have to share, and I'm serious. Um, Thank you very much for inspiring us and encouraging all those who are watching. And we will keep an eye out for more of your stuff. Okay.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed my time here.
Okay. Thank you very much. And good night, everybody.
Have a good evening.